Hello, cheers! Welcome to Unit 5, the teacher as an organizational leader. But let me discuss briefly my part, the Evolutionary Leadership Theory and the teacher leadership. The Evolutionary Leadership Theory, or ALT. Here are my objectives. Knowledge, which I will discuss the important leadership theories and the teacher leadership. And for skills, I will teach about leadership and its evolution all over the years, followed by the teacher leadership contents. And for the affective or attitude, I will consider some important content of evolutionary leadership theory and teacher leadership. Now, if you ask, what do leaders actually do? Leaders are people who normally declare possible what other people do not. Leaders work on adaptive challenges, not on technical problems, and they think big and use a systemic and strategic vision. They also declare a vision for a future and they generate the future. They mobilize others to create a new realities. Now let us define the term evolutionary leadership theory. Evolutionary leadership analyzes leadership and followership from the perspective of natural selection. Specifically, it looks into the added value ancestral groups gain from evolving a leader-follower structure and how concomitant adaptations within the human brain impact modern workplaces. Evolutionary leaders also has these characteristics. They are stewards of people, organizations, communities, and ecosystems, facilitate the emergence of life-affirming, future-oriented, and opportunity-increasing realities, and so on. The powerful paradigm of evolutionary leadership. Evolutionary leadership presents a scientific, evidence-based explanation for and solution to a range of persistent problems in the corporate world that are implicated in poor bottom-line results, including staggering rates of employees' disengagement. And in fact, evolutionary leadership offers a blueprint for successfully melting the core tasks all leaders face, building and maintaining an effective high-performance team. Now, let's start at the beginning. Evolutionary leadership incorporates state-of-the-art insights from a range of fields including psychology, anthropology, and the cognitive sciences, which have combined to deepen our understanding of human behavior. Most importantly, evolutionary leadership is based on firm empirical evidence that at birth the human mind is emphatically not a blank state. Rather, our brains come equipped with myriad highly specific information processing and devices that would have enabled our ancestors to effectively deal with situations crucial to their survival and reproductive success. As Adam Smith famously observed, specialization yields efficiency gains. Now let's move on to psychological adaptations. These innate information processing devices can be understood as unconscious if-then decision rules that govern our beliefs and behavioral motivations. For example, if you spot a large spider, the ubiquitous, naturally selected decision rule is make sure to be wary in order to avoid a potential lethal bite. In this way, our inborn psychological adaptations give rise to universal behaviors which, taken together, constitute human nature, what we are all like deep down regardless of individual and cross-cultural differences. Importantly, human nature comprises an array of social adaptations for effectively regulating our behavior as members of groups, including the twin phenomena of leadership and followership. Insights that elude and cannot be explained by conventional paradigms such as agile leadership or transformational leadership theory. Well, height is broadly associated with leadership, and research shows that high authority people are viewed as taller as they are, and the actual selection of executives, both public and private, to a significant degree is actually determined by its physical stature. From an evolutionary perspective, the link between height and leadership is fully straightforward. And here's the road. Backed by a wealth of empirical evidence, the framework of evolutionary leadership thus allow us to understand why the majority of employees are detached from their jobs. Because only 13% of employees worldwide are engaged. Why there is an ongoing global leadership crisis, and how and why that leadership crisis is inextricably linked to a communication gap. And why finally there is plenty of truth in the old adage that people leave bosses, not companies. Indeed, quitting is almost always a statement against the immediate superior. Against this background, the challenge for corporate leaders is to either work with or work around the constraints of our evolved psychology. Working against it, ignoring it, playing it down, let alone denying it, simply amounts to a recipe for poor organizational outcomes and personal leadership failure. Now let's dive a little deeper. Individuals who manage to quell Darwinian self-interest and successfully streamline their actions had a selective advantage over the members of less well-organized groups. Important leadership theories. So here are the important leadership theories. First is the great man theory, and the second one is the trait theory, and the contingency theory. For situational theory, this theory is similar to the contingency. Last important leadership theory is the behavioral theory. Interesting. Now we have the teacher leadership. Teacher leaders lead within and beyond the classroom. Lovey in 2018 argued that engaging in leadership work, whether or not they or others recognize this as a form of leadership. Teacher leadership is the process by which teachers individually or collectively influence their colleagues or the principals and other members of the school communities to improve teaching and learning practices with the aim of increased student learning and achievement. Teacher leadership is teacher leadership situated in other conceptions of leadership. Teacher leadership is reasonably situated within four conceptions of leadership that are inclusive of formal and informal leaders. Teacher leadership and distributed leadership. Who are teacher leaders? So here are the qualities of teacher leaders as teachers. Now let's proceed to the role of teacher leaders Katzenmeer and Muller describe and facet. Role of teacher leaders. Furthermore, Harrison and Killian in 2007 describe roles of teacher leaders. Teachers who lead become inquirers into their own practice. Why focus on teacher leadership? So why? It is because it benefits of employee participations. Why teacher leadership? Barriers in developing teacher leadership. Egalitarian values among teachers may militate against any teacher presenting her or himself as a leader. So, being ostracized by their colleagues, loss of connectedness to peers when engaging in teacher leadership, hesitant but not hostile, and top-down management structures in school, and fear and uncertainty. The concepts of leading and teaching are so intertwined that every leader is a teacher and every teacher is a leader. The art of leading students is one of the greatest challenges faced by today's teacher. The process is intensified in a prison setting where the environment for blending leadership practice is complex.